Welcome. I'm going to take this opportunity not only to talk about the new Power Rangers DVD, but talk about the way the show has impacted my life. It's 20 some odd years later, and here I am, still talking about the show. And you think, why is it 20 some odd years later and I'm still talking about it? Why am I even still thinking about it? I mean, the show has had such a profound impact on my life, and it's really hard to put my finger on it. If you were growing up in the 90s, you were obsessed with the show, and you probably had your parents buy all the toys. You probably tried to put together, like, the Zords and stuff, and you and your siblings or your friends probably picked all your favorite Rangers, and you probably acted out the show, and you probably all had your favorites. I got the short end of the stick and wound up being the Blue Ranger. But I'm not wearing a Blue Ranger shirt, I'm wearing a Red Ranger shirt. But anyways, like, the DVD just recently came out, and the episodes have been on YouTube, and they just recently, not so long ago, came out on Netflix. But I still bought the DVD, and I'm going to show it again. It's just really hard to get it in the frame. Oh, got it. And yep, here it is. I expected the cover art to be a little bit better, but it is pretty good. What can I say about the DVD? I mean, there's nothing much really to it. I'll show you the back if I can get. Yep. And yeah, I was expecting a little more on the back too. It's just a picture of Alpha and just that action scene from the show. Let's see if I can get the disc out too. That's pretty much what they look like. And if I was using my flip cam, I could show you what the interactive menu looks like, but I might do that in a separate vlog. But anyways, so yeah, there's nothing special about this DVD set. There's no special features. There's no commentary. There's just nothing really here. I don't know if that's what Saban wanted, but. And this is only half of season 1. The other half's coming out sometime in November. So since there's not much to say about the DVD set, I just want to talk about the way the show has just had an impact on my life. And I mean, I watched the show, and it's really hard to admit. I don't know how old some of you were when you stopped watching the show. Some of you might have stopped after Zach, Trainee, and Jason left, but I kept watching it up until I was 12 years old, and it was right when Power Rangers in Space started, and that's when I finally gave up. But I'm going to have to kind of go back to the beginning here. So this show premiered in 1993. I think I was entering 2nd grade, and I don't even remember much from the first episode. I remember my little brother calling me and saying, "Hey, this show called Power Rangers is premiering." And all I remember is that scene where Zordon was kind of showing them all telling them what Rangers they were going to be and whatnot, and that's all I really remember. But I mean, in 1993, the show just like blew up. I mean, it became a huge pop culture phenomenon. The toys were just selling like crazy. And I would watch it week after week, and I got the Megazord right here, and I never got tired of the Zords coming together and forming the Megazord. And I had the Megazord. I had all the Zord action figures, and I just love putting the Megazord together. I should try to find that on eBay, because I actually only had it for a short period of time, because we eventually lost all the pieces and parts and the Zords and whatnot. But so as you all know, the show, I never knew this as a kid. I never knew it was Japanese stock footage. And when I found out many years later, around, I think when I was a teenager, I wasn't surprised because it's pretty obvious from the get-go, but I never knew it was Japanese footage when I was a kid. I never noticed that Rita's lip wasn't moving. I really enjoyed Rita and whatnot, but the real things really got cool when everybody's favorite ranger came. And that was Tommy. And we just thought Tommy was just like really cool. Like, what about Tom? I don't know what it is about Tommy that is so appealing, other than he's just this really cool guy. And of course, I had a crush on the Pink Ranger. My girlfriend's not gonna like me for admitting that, but it was a long time ago. Who cares? And yeah, I mean, I really liked Kimberly, and every time something happened to her, like, I get kind of like sad for some reason. I don't know why. My favorite one was I remember having the tapes of Food Fight, which was one of my favorites, and No Clowning Around, and like I'd shout out in the cafeteria lunchroom, "Food Fight!" And nothing would happen, and everyone would just like stare at me awkwardly. Like I got in trouble for it too, but because in the show, I think it was Skull that said that went "Food Fight," and everyone just started just throwing food, and it was just like crazy. There was just food flying everywhere, and just like it was crazy. And all he said was "Food Fight," and it happened, and I just never understood how he could just say "Food Fight" and people would just start throwing food. And so how it worked was I had 4 brothers, so my youngest brother decided to be Jason the Red Ranger. My twin brother Tyrone decided to be Zach the Black Ranger, and my middle brother, my first to the youngest brother, decided to be Tommy the Green Ranger. And I got the short end of the stick and wound up being the Blue Ranger. And it's kind of weird they put the African American in the black suit and the Asian girl in the yellow suit. And I think Jason, the actor that played Jason, is Native American. I'm not sure. Kimberly's kind of ditzy, Billy's the nerd, and I guess Tommy was kind of a hippie. He had the long hair, so they put him in the green suit. The footage came from Japan. It was a Japanese show called Zoo Rangers, and Super Sentai had been going on since 1975, and they pretty much just spliced up all the footage of the Zoo Rangers and put in footage of young American actors to kind of balance it up. And like I didn't know much about the world when I was a kid, so I never realized that all of a sudden they'd be in downtown Tokyo or whatnot. And it's just really mind-boggling to think about now. So, and Tommy came, and I remember when I was a kid, I'd try to pretend I was under a spell by Rita and start throwing sand at people, and I got in a lot of trouble for that too. And I'd be like, "Mwah!" And yeah, but it's just going back to that question: why has this show 20 years later had such an impact on me? Because when I turned 12, I had given it up, and I had acquired a huge hatred for the show because I had devoted so much time, so much of my life. I mean, I never played sports. I was not involved in... well, there's not really any clubs in elementary school, really, but yeah, I never played sports. I never hung out with friends after school. I didn't do my homework straight when I got in. I mean, I'd just come home every day for years, up until 5th grade. Actually, wait, no. I gave it up when I was 11 years old. Sorry about that, but I just come home straight away and watch Power Rangers. And it started off in the mornings, but later on they switched it to afternoons after school. And I just devoted so much time I just devoted so much to this show that I grew such a hatred for it, and like it became the butt of a lot of our jokes when we got into our tweens, and of course when I became a teenager, I kind of reacquired my love for it out of the kind of nostalgic standpoint, because we used to kind of reminiscence about it, and every kid that has grown up in the 90s it's had a profound impact on their lives, and I just don't know where to begin with these reasons. I've been going over them. So the show, after its second season, it became its own show. They started actually kind of wearing the suits, doing their own stunts and whatnot, and Tommy became the White Ranger, and I mean, that's when the show really became awesome. And they got a new villain, Lord Zed, and I really liked Rita a lot. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, Rita was just she was just kind of just a beautiful kind of character in a way that she's so ugly and so cruel and so kind of like, what's the right word? Cold-hearted, that she's just, it almost makes her this kind of beautiful character. It's really hard to explain, but I really enjoyed Rita a lot. And then the second season, Lord Zed came along, and he was really cool. And they also later on got rid of Zach, Trainee, and Jason. And for some reason, I wasn't sad about their absence, and I welcomed Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. I think that was in the third season they came on, or halfway into the second season. I for some reason welcomed them. I wasn't too upset about Jason, Zach, and Trainee leaving. I think it had a lot to do with money and also the race issue. And of course, they got these new Zords, and they were really cool, and they were the Thunder Zords. And I think I might have had some of those toys at some point. And I guess the Green Ranger was destroyed, so Tommy became the White Ranger, and everyone we didn't miss the Green Ranger really. We all embraced the White Ranger. I mean, they did so many of these changes that, and we embraced them. We were never really sad. We just pretty much embraced them. And in 1995, the movie came out. We heard their they were making a movie, and we were really excited. And it was such a thought-provoking thing that how they were going to take a half-hour show that's really cheap with no budget and turn it into a big-budget blockbuster. And for months, I was just thinking, how are they going to do this? What's it going to be like? And I mean, oh my god, it's going to be like the length of an actual movie, and it's going to have a budget. And I was just freaking out about it. We saw it for my brother Brett's birthday, and I saw it, and I was just blown away because I had no idea what it was going to be like. I mean, they had those costumes with the padding, and they weren't made of spandex, and they were just so cool looking. They had all these awesome special effects. I mean, the moment that screen opened with the Power Rangers on the big screen, I was just like, whoa. And the command center was so much bigger, and Zordon looked different, Alpha looked different, and everything just looked really cool, and it was just an awesome movie. It was the best moment of my childhood. And I think it was third or fourth season, they incorporated elements from the movie, because the movie ran on a different continuity, because I think they didn't want to pay Saban too much money, and they were on a quest to see this guy named Ninjor, and they once again got all those cool ninja suits, and it kind of confused me to some standpoint, but I kind of got the idea that movie was a different universe, a different continuity. And the movie has gotten a lot of critical bashing. I think they voted it as one of the worst movies ever made. But you gotta take the movie for what it's worth. I mean, they took a concept that was so silly and so juvenile and just made it something more, and made it really cool. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I was really sad when Kimberly left, because I really liked Kimberly, and I really loved, for some reason, seeing Tommy and Kimberly's relationship blossom. But the thing that bothered me about the show was, I mean, there's no really personal detail about the characters' lives. I mean, the scripts are written for a 5-year-old. The characters are pretty one-dimensional, because of course there's Bulk and Skull, who are stereotypical bullies, and they always wound up getting humiliated. And I mean, but if you look at the characters and the story, I mean, it's all one-dimensional. The same thing happens over and over again, pretty much because that's the way little kids kind of view things, and they've got a short attention span. But we just couldn't get enough of this show, despite how juvenile it was, and how kind of cheesy and corny and campy. I mean, overall campy it was. And just, it's being a 90s kid, it's had such an impact on our lives. And so when Zeo, sorry, I gotta back up here a bit. And I thought when, spoiler alert, when Lord Zed and Rita finally destroyed the command center, I mean, that was awesome. I mean, I never seen anything like that on a kid's show, where, I mean, that thing just went kaboom. They really destroyed that thing. And I kind of missed the absence of Rita in the second season. I thought it was really fun when her and Lord Zed got married. I mean, I thought that was just really kind of cool now that they were together. Because I really missed Rita. She, I mean, like I said, she was such a beautiful character, in the sense that she's so ugly that she's kind of beautiful in her own way, but of course we like to compare the Green Ranger and the White Ranger. I still don't know what my favorite is, the Green Ranger or the White Ranger. I like some of you kind of debate on that. Leave comments below and talk about which one you like better and what's your favorite Ranger and why you like him. Do you prefer Jason? Do you prefer Rocky? Do you prefer Trainee? Do you prefer Aisha? Do you prefer Zach or Adam? I mean, I prefer Zach. Zach was so cool. I never liked Adam's character. I mean, he was so boring. And of course, in the movie, he got that frog power, and he got that frog Zord. And I never knew this in the movie. I thought they went to some other part of the world. They actually went to some other planet, and that chick trained them and gave them those cool ninja suits and those new powers. And Adam's like, she's like, "What's wrong?" And Adam's all like, "I'm a frog." And yeah, I always thought Adam was kind of boring. And he later became the Green Zeo Ranger, and he was a very boring character. And Zach was just full of spunk, liveliness. He was very smiley, and he was kind of charming in some ways. And Adam just didn't have that same spark that Zach did. Same with Aisha. I mean, Trainee had so much enthusiasm. Hers was a little different, but I kind of like Aisha a little better than Trainee. A little bit. And Billy was a huge nerd in the first season, but in the second season he kind of ditched the glasses, and he also got kind of more muscular a little bit. And Jason later actually came back as the Gold Ranger temporarily. And the Rangers, they always walk around in their colors. They always have to wear the color of their suit all the time. They have to walk around in red shirts and pink shirts and blue shirts and whatnot. I mean, and you think to yourself, in real life, wouldn't people think, God, why are these kids always... Why is every year in Angel Grove there's always 5 kids that all hang out together and wear the same colors every day, and they're very kind of spunky and happy, and you never swear or fight or anything. They're all... And yeah, but that's the Power Rangers universe for you. There's no real violence. But on the subject of violence, parents thought it was really a little too violent with all the fighting and whatnot, but my parents always thought it was okay for us to watch. It never made us act out in any violent ways. I'd like for some of you to comment below if the show ever made you want to fight or beat people up or anything. It made my girlfriend's little brother, I think, want to take up Taekwondo. It inspired you to take up martial arts. You know, and I actually, like I said, I stopped finally at the beginning of Power Rangers in Space. And even when Tommy left, Tommy leaving was the turning point. Tommy was everybody's favorite Ranger. He went from the Green Ranger to the Red Zeo Ranger, Green Ranger, White Ranger, Red Zeo Ranger, and the Red Turbo Ranger. And one day Zordon just said, booted them off. He said, "Sorry, you're done." Just like that. And that was just the turning point. When Tommy was gone, it was just so heartbreaking. I think he was the reason why I watched the show for so long. Because he was just so inspirational to me, and sometime after high school, maybe a year or two afterwards, I went back and watched clips from, I think, that new show Dino Thunder, where Tommy was now a grown-up. He was a teacher in this new city, and he was teaching a show on a class on, I think, anthropology, and he formed a new set of rangers. He was their leader, he was the black one, and he was just looking so awesome and so buff, and he just looked cooler, badder, and just buffer than ever, and I was just inspired by him all over again. And he kind of inspired me to take up weight training for some reason. I don't know why, but he really, just watching him, the way he progressed, really inspired me to be physically active in my adult life. I don't know why. And it was really fun watching clips from that show. And I watched the Forever Red episode, and I watched, I finally went back and watched that. I never knew about the episode of the Space Rangers where the Red Space Ranger broke Zordon's tube, and Zordon died, and Rita, Lord Zed, and Dulcia got turned into humans. I never knew about that episode, and that episode's actually really cool. I mean, all those bad guys are marching across the galaxy, and it gets really intense. So they're completely out of the Power Rangers universe. I think it'll be really cool if, his name is taboo for a lot of you people, but Michael Bay, come on. I think it'll be really cool if he, does a Power Rangers reboot. Because he did Transformers, that's kind of similar. He'll make the Zords real cool. But, maybe he can produce it. I just don't want to hear his crappy masturbation jokes and whatnot, because he really thinks those are funny, and they're not funny. A lot of people think those are funny. And if you want to comment on this video, because I don't get any comments on any of my videos, you can comment. I want some of you to comment on Michael Bay. What do you think of the Transformer movies? The only thing that bothers me is the script. But anyways, that's a whole nother subject. But Power Rangers has such a profound impact on me because I put so much effort and devotion into it, and just made my parents buy so many of the toys to drive them nuts. When I was telling my mom about Turbo, I was like, hey, there's a new movie coming out, and then they're gonna make a show, and she's like, oh yeah, they're gonna get new Zords again. How many times are they gonna get new Zords? And yeah, I also remember the summer Turbo came out. It was a little different from the first Power Rangers movie. It was in the same continuity as the show, and I remember Catherine. I'm gonna go into the subject of Catherine in a minute, but I remember they didn't actually turn into the Zeo Rangers, and Zeo had low ratings, so I think that's why they switched to Turbo. She turned into the pink Zeo Ranger for a second when she was diving off some cliff or something. So you never saw the Zeo Rangers, but I always liked how they had a kid as the Blue Ranger, because I was a kid at the time, and that's kind of like the ultimate fantasy. You're a kid and you're a Power Ranger. And the movie was cool, and Jason was in it. Jason, of course, wasn't in the first one because he had been replaced by Rocky, and Kimberly was in it too, and that I kind of liked how Kimberly was in it. The thing that bothered me was Jason was in Zeo prior, so and there was no real connection or recollection to that. And when Tommy saw Kimberly, there was no kind of butterflies in the stomach, love recollection. He was like, no, Kimberly, I missed you. None of that. I don't know if they never really went into that kind of stuff in the show. I don't know if they really they never wanted to waste their time on that thing. Or, like I said, the scripts are mostly written so 5-year-old kids can understand that. And maybe kids didn't want that kind of stuff, but it always kind of bothered me. And of course, when Jason went down into the power chamber, Didn't say, oh, I like the new Power Chamber, new Rangers, new Zords, and whatnot. There was no recollection on that, and I thought the Power Chamber looked really cool because it was a replacement from the Command Center. And Zordon was in kind of this different kind of tube. It looked like he was in water, kind of. And Zordon also later, I hated Zordon's replacement. It was some weird chick, and she just like floated into that tube. I mean, that really pissed me off. That was the point where I really should have just let go of the show, but I didn't. And I don't know why it took me, like I said, I don't know why it took me all the way to Space Rangers to finally get rid of my interest in the show, but I just don't know why. I mean, so for the reason being, I watched it for so long, loved what the Power Rangers stood for, what they believed in, what they fought for, the morals they taught us. It's had such an impact on my life, and here I am 20 odd years later talking about it. There's so much more I wanted to say. I probably should have written a script for this, but I didn't, and you might have noticed kind of my stuttering, my mumbling, my pauses, but I just don't have the time and energy to write a script for this, and I didn't. So if anyone wants to bother to comment on any of my videos, I'd like you to kind of share your memories of Power Rangers, how the show has impacted you, and what Ranger you like and whatnot. That'll be really cool. I mean, what else can I say? There's so much I want to say. I can go on about the video games, more about the toys, my favorite monsters. I like the pig, I like the Sphinx, like that skeleton thing. Those ones are my favorites, and I always like Goldar, especially when he turned huge. I always like how Zed gave him those wings. That was really cool. And I can also go on more about the Japanese version, but that's going to take a long time too. And yeah, I mean, it's had such an impact on my life. The movie was the greatest moment of my childhood. There's just so much I can say here, and I'm just starting to ramble on, but I just wanted to take this moment to talk about Power Rangers and how it's affected me, and I'd like you to share your thoughts and opinions. Thank you.